The year is 1054. In the Hagia Sophia in Constantinople, papal legates march down the aisle during Mass. They place a bull of excommunication on the altar denouncing the Patriarch of Constantinople. Moments later, the Patriarch excommunicates them in return. In our history, this was the spark of the Great Schism, the split between the Roman Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox Church, dividing Christendom into East and West, but in this alternate timeline, the breach never happens. Instead of mutual excommunications, compromise prevails. The Pope softens his stance, the Patriarch answers in humility. The churches of Rome and Constantinople remain united. Christianity speaks with one voice, stretching from Ireland to Syria, from Scandinavia to Egypt. To understand how radical this is, we need the real story. For centuries, tensions simmered between Rome and Constantinople over theology, ritual, and authority. Latin and Greek Christians prayed differently, fasted differently, even used different bread for communion. Rome claimed universal supremacy, Constantinople defended independence. By 1054, mistrust was so deep that one clash shattered unity. From that moment on, Catholic and Orthodox Christians walked separate paths, never fully reconciled, but imagine the breach avoided. Instead of splitting, the Pope and Patriarch agreed to disagree on rituals while affirming shared faith. The question of papal supremacy is tabled, not resolved, leaving room for future negotiation. The faithful across Europe wake the next day with their church whole. There is no Catholic West, no Orthodox East, only one united Christendom. The immediate impact is enormous. Byzantium, still strong in 1054, retains full legitimacy as co-leader of Christendom. Rome, instead of seeing Constantinople as rival, sees it as partner. The Pope and the Patriarch jointly call for reform, strengthening monasteries, rooting out corruption, and supporting missions. Christian unity, fragile but real, sets the stage for a very different Middle Ages. Zoom into lives. A Greek monk on Mount Athos, who in our history grew bitter toward Latin Christians, here copies manuscripts for shared libraries, his works read in Rome as well as Constantinople. A Latin priest in France, who once mocked Eastern practices, now studies them with respect, seeing in them different expressions of one faith. A Christian merchant from Amalfi, trading in the Levant, feels safer knowing that East and West are not divided but united. Now think of the Crusades. In our world, the first crusade launched in 1096 was partly born of Byzantine desperation. But mistrust between East and West poisoned cooperation. Crusaders sacked Constantinople itself in 1204, crippling Byzantium. In this alternate world, that never happens. A united Christendom answers the call to arms together. Crusaders march not as suspicious Latins trampling Orthodox soil, but as brothers. Constantinople remains unplundered. Byzantium stands as strong ally, not betrayed victim. With unity, Jerusalem may remain under Christian control far longer. Instead of squabbling between Catholic and Orthodox lords, there is one hierarchy, one command. Antioch and Constantinople stand linked, supplying the Crusader states. Muslim powers face a united Christian front, far more formidable than in reality. The balance of the Holy Land tilts toward Christendom. Culturally, the consequences are staggering. In our world, the schism deepened linguistic and cultural divides. Here, Greek and Latin learning flows more freely. Western Europe absorbs Greek philosophy sooner, centuries before the Renaissance. Eastern Europe benefits from Latin law and organization. Universities develop earlier with combined curricula. Scholasticism and Orthodox theology fuse, creating a richer intellectual tradition. Thomas Aquinas debates not only Augustine and Aristotle, but also Gregory of Nyssa and John Chrysostom. Art and architecture also change. Instead of distinct Gothic cathedrals in the west and domed basilicas in the east, a hybrid style emerges: pointed arches alongside mosaics, rose windows above golden icons. Worshippers in Paris and Thessaloniki kneel in churches that blend East and West, their faith visually united. Politically, Christian monarchs benefit from unity. Kings of France, England, and Germany look east with respect, seeing the Byzantine Emperor as co-defender of the faith. Alliances form across the continent. When the Mongols erupt from the steppe in the 13th century, they face not fragmented Christian realms but coordinated resistance. United Christendom pushes them back at the Carpathians, preventing deep incursions into Hungary and Poland. Zoom again into individual fates. A Polish villager in 1241, who in our world died in Mongol raids, here survives because Byzantine and Latin armies stood together at his border. A Syrian Christian in Antioch, instead of being abandoned by Rome, lives under protection of united armies, his family spared. A Byzantine artisan in Constantinople, instead of starving after 1204, thrives under patronage of both Pope and Emperor. The Renaissance, too, unfolds differently. In our world, it bloomed partly because Greek scholars fled Constantinople after 1453, carrying manuscripts to Italy. Here, those scholars never flee because Constantinople never falls. Byzantium, stronger with Western support, resists the Ottomans longer. Greek learning doesn't trickle west, it flows continuously centuries earlier. The Renaissance starts sooner, deeper, and broader. Without division, even the Protestant Reformation changes. Martin Luther's protests in the 16th century were fueled by Catholic corruption and papal abuses. In a united church, with Orthodox traditions balancing papal power, perhaps corruption never festers as deeply. Reform still comes, but it's gentler, absorbed into the larger unity. Instead of a fractured Christendom, Catholic, Orthodox, Protestant, there is one evolving church. Wars of religion, from Germany to France, might be avoided, millions of lives spared. Colonization also looks different. Spain and Portugal, Catholic powers, launched the Age of Discovery in our world. In this alternate timeline, their ships sail with Orthodox blessings too. A united Christendom funds exploration. Orthodox sailors from the Black Sea join voyages west. The New World is claimed not just for Catholic kings, but for Christendom as a whole. Crosses planted in America bear both Latin and Greek inscriptions. Missionaries spread a united Christianity across the globe. By the modern era, the consequences are vast. Europe enters the Enlightenment not as a fractured continent, but as a religiously cohesive one. Secularism still rises, but against a backdrop of unity, not division. Nationalism still burns, but it's tempered by a shared Christian identity. Global politics tilt differently. Russia, tied more closely to Byzantium and Rome, develops in step with Europe instead of apart. The Ottoman Empire, without a divided Christendom to exploit, struggles to expand, its rise delayed or diminished. Zoom one last time into individual lives. A farmer in England in 1500, in our history suspicious of Greeks he never met, here sees Byzantine priests visiting his church, preaching in fellowship. An artist in Florence, instead of painting purely Western Madonnas, is trained to paint icons too, his canvases glowing with Byzantine gold. A peasant girl in Anatolia, instead of living on a frontier between warring faiths, grows up under one united church, her prayers echoing those of worshippers from Rome to Kiev. Would this world be better? In many ways, yes. Fewer wars, fewer betrayals, more shared knowledge, and earlier renaissances, yet perhaps it would also be less dynamic. The tensions between Catholic and Orthodox, the debates and rivalries spurred creativity. Without that friction, unity might breed stagnation. Still, the dream of one Christendom, undivided, would have been among the most powerful forces in history. So, what do you think? Would a united church have made the world more peaceful or less innovative? Drop your thoughts below and subscribe to Sheriff Reactions. Hit the bell for daily flips, where we explore not just what happened, but what might have been.